When we talk about self-reflection or trying to understand our patterns, we're usually stuck in our head doing an intellectual analysing exercise. We think of deep, complex theories as to why we feel the way that we do. Today, we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to drop that exercise. We're going to get out of our heads and feel ourselves in our bodies. We're going to arrive in the room that we are right now. Have you ever noticed that when you've made it through a particularly difficult week, you'll carry this pressure behind the eyes, a tightness in the shoulders or a churning of the stomach? And we can put that down to a minor inconvenience of just getting older, being overworked and particularly stressed. But in the Gestalt tradition, that's known as unfinished business, a term that was coined by a legendary therapist, Fritz Perls. And he says that that is an alive conversation that's happening within your body that's just unexpressed. It's an open loop that desires to be fulfilled. In Gestalt theory, human thought and behavior is thought of a whole system rather than isolated parts. When you experience a difficult situation, a heated argument, a difficult meeting at work, or an uncomfortable interaction repeated from childhood, and it stops before you get to express your real, raw, unheard, unexpressed feelings. Because the emotional cycle was broken and the process wasn't allowed to finish, those emotions won't just disappear into thin air. They're hardened and stored within the body. The unexpressed energy literally hardens within your body and forms a physical barrier. Those interactions that happen and the cycles that break in our childhood, they carry through into our adulthood. They affect how we carry ourselves and our body. And that's where we find the fascinating link between childhood interactions and how we carry ourselves as adults. To a child, the environment is completely unknown. It lacks predictability. And there's possibly as much punishment as there is fun available with our caregivers. And to learn to navigate that unpredictable environment, we will squash our feelings down. We will accept broken emotional cycles in order to survive in that chaotic environment. And so to survive all that chaos, we'll swallow and change our words to avoid conflict. We'll push our genuine impulses into the background of our own lives. As adults, we'll appear mature, but we're still carrying those fixed gestalts from childhood. If you can imagine a person who feels genuine tenseness in their shoulders, and we speak to them about what their relationship with their mother was like, and their mother was quite emotionally distant. We can imagine that child. We can see it now as they reach up to feel love or reach up to get a cuddle from their mum, and that never comes. So that tension of reaching up will be stored in the body. That broken loop, that wanting for comfort, will still be there as we carry it around in adulthood. And when that drama is replayed from the past, where that squashed emotion comes from the background into the foreground in our adult lives, in the here and now, where we have a partner that doesn't meet our emotional needs, we'll feel that response, that reaching for comfort in our shoulders. So if you feel that churning of the stomach from your hypervigilance as a child, if you feel that tension in your shoulders, is it your tension you're carrying right now, or a previous version of you that wanted to survive a chaotic environment and is carrying an unfinished business? So it's fascinating to think that we can take our physical mannerisms, our slight niggles, we can think about how they present in the body. And furthermore, the old adage is that the body keeps score. What is your body trying to tell you about the week that you've had? What is that broken emotional cycle? What is that impulse, that raw feeling that didn't get expressed? And how often has that happened before? And what is the body's emotional response to that in a physical way? And look, to be entirely transparent with you, I'm not a psychologist or therapist. I'm just a fellow traveller who is fascinated by counselling modalities and people like Fritz Perls, who wrote these theories about how to explain what happens to us on a daily basis as we go on our journey and how we can use that information to grow. So this is more about self-reflection. This isn't a therapeutic or clinical advice piece of content. I want it to be a bridge to actual therapy where there's qualified people that can be a companion on that journey of growth. And I've put a link in the video description to some counselling directories so that if what you find here is a bit too much to burden, you can find someone to carry on that journey with you. So the stuff we talk about here aren't rigid archetypes. They're just a theoretical lens to help you look at your life or your most recent week and understand what's happening. It's a visceral self-investigation, warts and all. And to that end, I've got an exercise for you. Think back over the last few days, try and find a conversation where you didn't feel you could fully express yourself. This is a moment where you felt like you remained silent, you swallowed an emotion for the benefit of someone else's feelings. Think about that moment and write it down exactly as it happened. Run it to the end. There's no judgment. There's no one else's to read this. This is your moving the pen and seeing what comes out. And as you're doing that, feel where these emotions that you find or you come across or you relive, where they manifest in your body. See if those emotions and that physical sensation are a common pairing. You might come across a completely unrelated event from before and go, oh, that's the same as that. That can be a useful piece of self-investigation. So if you go off on a tangent, it's perfectly fine. Trying to take a narrative which is paired with feelings and funnel that through into a pen, trying to get that into words is a admirable but difficult task. So go easy with yourself. The process of getting that down onto the paper will give us a wider view of who we are in those situations. And I think it's an incredible piece of self-investigation. So if you do give it a go, then well done you. If you wanted a more guided, contained journal approach, I've created one. It's week 2 of Beneath the Repeat, and it's called Unfinished Business. It dives a little bit deeper into the theory of Gestalt tradition and therapeutic modality. So yeah, thank you for joining me today, and let's continue to look beneath the repeat.